Lane County Board of Commissioners back to order for this afternoon's Tuesday session, July 12th. We have two items, Public Works items to work through. So we'll get started with the first one is item 15A. It's the second reading and public hearing for ordinance PA 1333 in the matter of co-adopting the Cottage Grove Transportation System Plan for, hello? Must have been redial, so sorry. Adopting the Cottage Grove Transportation System Plan for application within the urbanizable area outside the Cottage Grove city limits, but within the City of Cottage Grove urban growth boundary, and adopting savings and severability clauses. The applicant is the City of Cottage Grove. We have with us Senior Planner Becky Taylor. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chair Stewart and Commissioners. For the record, I'm Becky Taylor, Senior Transportation Planner, and I'm here regarding Cottage Grove's request for Lane County's co-adoption of their Transportation System Plan, or TSP. Their City Council adopted their Cottage Grove's TSP earlier this year on January 11th, 2016, without any public opposition. And as you know, Lane County co-adopts the TSPs of all the 12 incorporated cities within Lane County. Most recently, you'll recall, you co-adopted Coburg's TSP. That particular case included a concurrent urban growth boundary. This project is just for TSP co-adoption. Their UGB expansion was approved by you some time ago, February 14th, 2011. And to confirm, staff has participated in Cottage Grove's TSP update process. Their public workshops reviewed all the materials to ensure consistency with our plan. There are some Lane County roads located in Cottage Grove's urban growth boundary. There are some projects recommended. Staff is supportive of those projects, and this doesn't commit Lane County to construct or fund those improvements, but it is a way of documenting a future partnership opportunity between the city and the county. And for your reference, included in your packet is the ordinance for co-adoption, PA 1333. The TSP to be co-adopted is included as attachment 2 of your packet, and compliance with the approval criteria are provided in attachments 3 and 4 with the relevant Lane code, the statewide planning goals, the Oregon administrative rules, and also details the Cottage Grove's local adoption process. Attachment 5 contains the meeting minutes of the Lane County Planning Commission. They held a public hearing and acted that same evening following no public testimony on March 15th, 2016. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended the board approve the ordinance as written. And similar to Cottage Grove's local adoption process, Lane County has received no opposing public testimony. Your agenda packet also confirms that the procedural requirements have been met. Anyone who's signed up to speak today, I don't think we have anyone signed up, but you can accept additional testimony today. Cottage Grove staff is here today. I've confirmed that they don't have any additional testimony to provide, but they're available if you have any questions. So based on the record to date, staff recommends that the board select option 1 of the alternative actions provided in your agenda packet, and that is to approve ordinance number PA 1333 as presented.
Okay. So, are there any questions of Ms. Taylor before I open the public hearing? Okay. So I'd like to open the public hearing, and there is no one signed up that wishes to speak. So unless I'm told otherwise, I'll close the public hearing and look to the board for any questions or deliberation. I do have one question, but I don't know if there's anybody here to answer it. How do we call roll on an ordinance without the administrator? That's something Becky could do, Commissioner?
The charter says that the board will appoint a recording secretary
Okay.
on ordinances.
Okay. So at this time, if it's all right with the board, I'd like to ask Ms. Taylor to perform that function when we have a motion. Thank you.
Be glad to, thank you.
Commissioner Lycan?
Mr. Chair, I'd move approval of ordinance PA 133 in the matter of a co-adopting the Cottage Grove Transportation System Plan for application within the urbanizable area outside the Cottage Grove city limits, but within the city of Cottage Grove urban growth boundary, and adopting savings and severability clauses.
Second.
All right. Is there further discussion on the motion? Commissioner Bozievich?
So I just want to make one note that the planning process identified nearly 31 million in improvements that are needed during this time period, yet the estimated available funding is only 11.5 million. So it just stresses the importance of the legislative committee that will be here in town next week on the 20th to find some kind of solution to provide additional funding for transportation projects, of which, you know, whatever the state does relative to gas tax and vehicle registration fees, 20% will come back to municipalities like Cottage Grove for these kind of improvements. So hopefully we'll see some of the Cottage Grove folks there going, we're a little short. So
A third of the money, right?
yeah.
Okay. Other comments? All right, before we vote, I want to thank Howard and Amanda for coming up here for this very contentious item and being available for comments. It's much appreciated. So with that, Becky, can you just ask each commissioner their vote?
Commissioner Bozievich, could I get your vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Lycan?
Aye.
Chair Stewart?
Aye.
Commissioner Sorensen?
Aye.
Did we have Commissioner
And we'll
Farr
just
on
show
the
that
phone?
Commissioner Farr is excused.
Okay,
So it passes 4-0.
great. Passes 4-0, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's move to item 15B, which is Order 16-07-12-09. It's in the matter of approving the amended bylaws for the Lane County Transportation Advisory Committee, previously named the Roads Advisory Committee. We have with us our Transportation Planning Supervisor, David Reeser. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chair and board members. As noted in your packet materials, staff requests that the board review and consider amending the bylaws to reflect the edits that were recommended from the committee. The original bylaws were written back in 1979, and the most recent edits were amended in 2010. The proposed edits range from minor one-word changes to some more substantive changes, such as modifying the committee name from the Roads Advisory Committee to the Transportation Advisory Committee. While the current role of the RAC is outdated, the proposed bylaw edits will bring the committee's role up to date with current business needs. Over the past several years, the county has undergone significant reductions in capital improvement program funding, with fewer opportunities to implement road improvements. And as you likely know, historically the RAC has primarily focused on capital improvements. The committee now wishes to broaden their role and recommendations to be more in line with the overall transportation system in Lane County, and have more emphasis on topics such as transportation safety. In this example, the committee wishes to weigh in on programmatic safety efforts such as traffic safety education, not just capital improvements. The bylaw edits include a reduction in meetings rather than meeting monthly as they have historically. The proposed bylaw edits describe meeting every other month, so about 6 times a year. And that could change if there was a special need for a meeting on occasion. Many communities have transportation advisory style committees, such as bicycle and pedestrian advisory committees and traffic safety advisory committees, in addition to being part of a regional area commission on transportation. While the Lane Act provides broad representation and input from multiple agencies and jurisdictions throughout Lane County, the RAC, or or the TAC as it may be, provides specific transportation recommendations to Lane County staff and the board as an individual agency. The updated bylaws help address this shift in the committee's role. And specifically, the newly proposed Lane County Transportation Advisory Committee more accurately reflects this broadened role of the committee. And so with that, I would open it up to questions and comments.
Okay, thank you. We have questions for Mr. Reeser? Okay. Seeing any, I would entertain a motion at this time. Commissioner Ligon?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Got to get to it. And I'd like to move approval of Order 16-07-12-09, the matter of approving the amended bylaws for the Lane County Transportation Advisory Committee, previously named the Roads Advisory Committee.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion on the item? Commissioner Sorensen?
I just want to say that I think changing the name is more than just a minor thing. I think it's really good that it's a broadening of the concept that transportation involves the airport, and involves the port, and it involves the freeways, and it involves the roads, it involves the city streets, and it involves all kinds of other kinds of transportation that we currently think of, and perhaps things we don't think of. So I think it's better to have the change, and I think it will reflect a broader outlook on the part of the advisory committee.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay. Other comments? All right, seeing none, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
And there's no opposed, and so it passes 4-0 with Commissioner Farr excused. Thank you, Mr. Reeser.
Thank you.
We do have a executive session, but before we do, I will briefly go through review of the assignments, and I believe that there was only one that I have wrote down, and that was to ask the Legislative Committee to review IP 28 and bring any recommendation to the board. Is that correct? Was there other items, that work plans from this morning? Okay. And Commissioner Farr, one of the items that Commissioner Farr was going to bring up was the item in regards to the Frank Moore Steelhead Sanctuary. He's not present, so I guess we will move that to the next meeting for him to hold the board. So with that, let me grab my executive session material. The Lane County Board of Commissioners will meet in executive session to conduct deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to carry on labor negotiations. This executive session is held pursuant to ORS 192.660, subsection 2, subsection D, which allows the Board of Commissioners to meet in executive session for the purposes listed above. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to leave the room. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decisions will be made in executive session, and we reserve the right to come back into public session should the need arise. So I would like to have us move to the Board of Commissioners conference room for the executive session, and let's start that around 2 o'clock. I think we have, that way Mr. Rickoff should be done with his meeting and can be in attendance in that executive session. So let's convene the executive session at 2 o'clock in the Board of Commissioners conference room. So with that, we're recessed.